A patient sits in your consult room, they nod at everything you say, they agree the problem is real, they agree the treatment makes sense, and then at the end they say, I need to think about it, I will call you back. And they never call. If that happens more than 2 or 3 times a week in your practice, you do not have a marketing problem, you have a conversion problem, and it is costing you far more than your ad budget. I am a practicing vascular surgeon, and I own a multi-location vein practice. In the next 10 minutes, I am going to break down why patients say they need to think about it, what that sentence actually means, and the specific changes that turn a maybe into a scheduled procedure without a single dollar of extra advertising. Start with the math, because the math is what makes this urgent. Every consult in your schedule was paid for twice. Once when you bought the lead or earned the referral, and again when you gave up a clinical hour to see them. A consult that ends in, I will think about it, does not cost you nothing. It costs you the acquisition spend plus the hour. So when your conversion rate moves, nothing else in the practice has to change and the revenue moves with it. Run your own numbers before you watch another minute. Take the consults you saw last month, count how many scheduled a treatment, and divide. That single percentage tells you more about the health of your practice than any other number on your dashboard. Most owners have never calculated it. They know their ad spend to the dollar, and they have no idea what happens after the patient sits down. Now, the important part, I need to think about it, is almost never about thinking. It is a polite exit. It means one of 4 things went unresolved in that room, and the patient did not want to argue with the doctor about it. 1, they do not believe the problem is serious enough to act now. 2, they do not believe your treatment is the thing that fixes it. 3, they do not know what it costs, or they are afraid to ask. 4, they do not know what happens next, so the safest move is to leave and decide later. Later never comes because outside your office, the urgency drops to 0. Your job is not to push harder. Your job is to find out which of those 4 it was in the room while you can still answer it. The first one is urgency, and this is where clinical language works against you. Patients do not act on a diagnosis. They act on consequences they can picture. If you tell someone they have venous reflux, that is a fact with no emotional weight attached. If you ask them what they have stopped doing because of their legs, and they tell you they stopped standing at their grandson's games, now the problem has a shape. You did not exaggerate anything. You just moved the conversation from a condition to a life. Ask what this is costing them now, and ask what it looks like in 2 years if nothing changes. Let them say it out loud. A patient who has described their own consequence does not need to be convinced of urgency. They convince themselves, and they will remember their own words far longer than yours. The second one is belief in the treatment. This is where practices lose patients they should keep, because the patient has already been told something by the internet, by a friend, or by a previous doctor who tried something that failed. If someone tried compression stockings for a year and got no relief, and you do not address that, they will assume your recommendation is the same category of advice. Ask directly what they have already tried and what happened. Then explain plainly why what you are proposing is different in mechanism, not just different in name. Say what the treatment does, say how long it takes, say what recovery actually looks like on a normal weekday. Vague reassurance reads as evasion. Specifics read as competence. Third is money. And this is the one most practices handle worst. If a patient walks out of a consult without knowing what this will cost them, they will not schedule. They cannot. Nobody commits to an unknown number. And they usually will not ask you, because asking a doctor about money feels rude. So the number has to be introduced by you or by someone on your team before the patient leaves the building. Not an estimate mailed out next week. In the building, what is covered, what is not, what the patient portion looks like, and what payment options exist. When the number is delivered calmly by a person who does this every day, it stops being a threat and becomes a decision. When it arrives in a letter 3 days later, it is just a bill-shaped surprise, and the surprise wins. Fourth is the next step, and this is the cheapest one to fix. Most consults end with some version of, "Think it over and let us know." That sentence puts the entire burden of scheduling on a person who has no system for it. Replace it. Every consult should end with a specific next action that already has a date attached. We have an opening Thursday at 10 and Monday at 2. Which one should I hold for you? If they truly are not ready, then the next action is a scheduled follow-up call with a name and a time, not a note in a file. A patient who leaves with something on the calendar comes back at a completely different rate than a patient who leaves with a decision to make alone. Here is something owners overlook. Conversion is not only about the doctor. The consult starts long before you walk in. If the front desk was cold, if the patient waited 40 minutes with no explanation, if nobody confirmed the appointment, and the patient half expected to reschedule, you are already climbing out of a hole when you sit down. And it continues after you leave the room. Whoever handles scheduling and financial conversations at the end is doing conversion work, whether you call it that or not. That person should be trained, should know the numbers, and should have the authority to book the case. If your best converting step depends on you personally being in a good mood, that is not a process. That is a bottleneck wearing a white coat. Now, the patients who genuinely need to leave and think. Some are real. The failure is not that they left. The failure is that most practices then do nothing, or send one generic email, or wait for a call that will not come. Follow-up is not nagging. Follow-up is the practice remembering a person who asked for help, a same-day recap of what you discussed, a call from a real person within a few days from someone whose name they recognize, a clear answer to the specific question they hesitated on, not a template. Keep going for weeks, not hours. People decide on their own timeline, usually when something in their life gets worse. Be the practice that is still there when that happens, instead of the one that gave up on day 2. If you want this to stick, measure it like a process instead of a feeling. Track 4 things: consults booked, consults kept, consults converted to a scheduled treatment, and treatments actually completed. Look at where the drop is largest, because the fix is completely different at each step. A show rate problem is a reminder and confirmation problem. A conversion problem is a consult room problem. A completion problem is a scheduling and financial clearance problem. Review the numbers by month, and if you have more than one provider, by provider without drama. Wide variation between providers is not a character flaw. It usually means one person is doing something in that room that nobody has written down yet. And that is the most valuable document in your practice. So what does the fixed version look like? The consult follows the same shape every time. Ask what it is costing them and let them describe it. Ask what they have already tried and address it directly. State the recommendation plainly with mechanism, timeline, and recovery. Introduce the cost inside the building. End with a date, not a decision. And then the follow-up runs on a schedule by a named person for weeks. None of that requires new equipment, a new location, or a bigger ad budget. It requires the conversation to be designed instead of improvised. Most practices at $2 million are improvising every consult, which is why the same doctor converts brilliantly one week and poorly the next. The doctor is not the variable. The absence of a structure is. Here's what I would do this week. Pull the last 30 consults and mark each one, scheduled or not scheduled. For the ones that did not schedule, write one line on why using the 4 causes: urgency, belief, cost, or next step. You will see a pattern within 20 minutes, and it will almost never be spread evenly. Fix the largest one first, and only that one, for the next 30 days. That is how conversion improves, one cause at a time with numbers you can see. If you want a faster read on where your practice is leaking patients, we built a free AI audit at practiceskale.ai. It looks at your practice and shows you where the gaps are. It is free and there is no sales call attached to it. Thanks for watching.